There are no people in the future.
There are no people.
There are no people in the future.
No people at all.
There are no people in the future.
Where did all my people go?
There are no people in the future.
Let me try my people call. Where are all my people? Where are all my people? I guess I'll fly away now.
Hey, everybody, welcome. It is Monday, May 16th, 2022. Welcome to Raging Chicken's Altitude Live. This is Kevin Mahoney, creator and founder of Raging Chicken. On Altitude Live, we talk to progressives, activists, and troublemakers of all sorts right from our own backyards and across the country. It is PA primary election day eve, all. Whew, the stakes of this year's primaries and the midterm elections coming up in November could not be higher in Pennsylvania. Where are you going to be tomorrow? What are you watching? What are you taking, kind of trying to get the finger in the air? Which way the wind's blowing? Ooh, and what's on your mind? It's where we talk a little bit open phones, open discussion, taking your comments, questions, thoughts, ideas. What's we got to hear? Emily went to the Doylestown rally this past Sunday for abortion rights, and I've heard just amazing things about it. I'll tell you a little story about my plan was to be there. That got a little sidetracked, derailed, however it might be. Anyways, let me get to that. You can join us at the end of the week also for our Friday Politics Roundup, where we break down the good, the bad, and the ugly in state and national politics. And this Friday, Amy Connect is back as my guest host, as we'll try to wrap our heads around these past 2 unbelievable weeks. You can also check out our once or twice monthly The Wednesday Show with Cyril Michaleko. Cyril, of course, is a progressive columnist for the Bucks County Courier-Times, The Intelligencer, and he's the editor-in-chief of the Bucks County Beacon. Cyril will be back this Wednesday for a primary day post-mortem. That's right, it's a big week, all. You can get all our shows by subscribing to our podcast on Podbean, iTunes, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. You can help support this show by becoming a patron for as little as $5 a month. Head on over to patreon.com/rcpress and become a patron today. You can also help out the show right now by heading over to our YouTube channel if you're not there already. Smash that subscribe button, like the stream for this show, and hit that notification bell so you know every time that we go live. And look, if you're listening to the podcast, make sure you give us that 5-star review. Make sure you leave us a review. Let people know what you think. Tell them why you come and listen to this show. Tell them why it's a great show. But give us that 5-star review, especially if you're listening to Apple Podcasts. That really helps other people find the show. Pretty fantastic. And I do have our Discord open tonight, too, as well. If you want to join our Discord, do check it out. The link for that is in tonight's show notes. And I'll be kind of checking out the channel under, Elections. Where's my title for it? Election 2022. So if you're in our Discord tonight and you want to kind of throw in some comments, I will keep an eye on that, too, as well. For more PA Progressive Talk, tune to the Rick Smith Show's live stream at 9 p.m. Eastern on his YouTube channel, Twitter, Facebook. Subscribe to his podcast wherever you get your podcast. Head on over to thericksmithshow.com for the latest across all his platforms. And now more than ever, you got to check out the Sisters of the Night Caucus podcast. The amazing PA women stirring the political cauldron behind this podcast rock the house. And you know where the bodies are buried. Yes, make sure to follow them on Twitter at The Night Caucus and subscribe to their podcast on Anchor, Spotify, iTunes, wherever you get your podcast. And for all you gamers out there, the Game Inn, that's with 2 N's, the Game Inn is a Quakertown-based black family-owned gaming store. They're friends of the show, and they've got everything from retro N64s, the latest consoles, video games for all platforms, collectibles, action figures, Funko Pops, walls of Funko Pops. And kids get discounts when they bring in A's on their report card. How can you beat that? Check them out on their Facebook page and follow them on Twitter at The Game Inn, that's with 2 N's. Looking for something hard to get? Shoot them a message, drop them an email at thegameinpa@gmail.com. And a shout out, as always, goes to Jonathan Mann, who wrote our intro song, There Are No People in the Future. Check out all his great stuff on his YouTube page and follow him on Twitter at @SongOfDayman. That's @SongOfDayman on Twitter. And look, If you are looking to end the domination of right-wing money tipping the scales to the extreme on our school boards and in our communities, well, we're doing our best to make that easy to do. Yes, we've partnered with Levelfield to bring you a little local pack. That's right. Don't let Paul Martino buy our schools. It is time to reclaim our school boards from the extremists. It is time to reclaim our communities. You can kind of give us a donation by heading on over to the Raging Chicken, or just ragingchicken.levelfield.net. You can leave a donation there, and that money will go to support progressive candidates that will support organizing on the ground. We're going to have this summer, we're going to have a little bit of a special launch day. And then we're going to be inviting some more people in here. We're going to be kind of expanding our little kind of board. As I've been saying on the show, I wanted to kind of take it slow to kind of make sure kind of everything was up and running before we kind of went a whole hog on this. But look, we've already raised over $1,000. We've already raised over $1,000 in this short period of time before the official launch, right? And that is going to go to try to make sure that we get the best candidates that are going to support like progressives in this area. We're going to turn Bucks County seats around. We want to support candidates that are going to bring progressive values to our state house in particular. And then, but also along the way, we want to invest in the organizing that is happening around our school boards, right? We want to support those kids that are standing up in Central Bucks who are kind of saying no, like to transphobic stuff, saying no to kind of, having their rights stripped away, saying no to the suppression of their freedom of speech to say that we want a community that's full of diversity, right? We want to support the Rise Up Doylestown. We want the Rise Up, Central Bucks. We want to support the Rise Up Penridge, those kids that are organizing there. We want to support the school board candidates who have been organizing and haven't stopped organizing since the school board elections in 2021, right? The idea is that we have to get around these Democratic Party consultants who have just kind of like made a muck of things, right? While they've raked in tons and tons of cash, we want to keep the money here. We want to invest in our community and put it where the people need it. Head on over to ragingchicken.levelfield.net for more information and a place where you can make a donation. A couple show notes coming up on Monday, the 23rd. That is next Monday. I have Sarah Aniano on the show. Sarah is a researcher who was recently graduated from Monmouth University and Masters in Communication. She does work on social media misinformation and the rhetoric of the far right, and it's garnered her some nationwide attention. She finally got kind of at least the kind of shout out that she kind of is due. In a recent CNET article, basically you have, spotlighting her and 3 other graduate students who are doing, really the kind of the yeoman's work, if you will, of digging out and tracking this kind of right-wing disinformation. She does amazing work, and I can't believe that we're going to have her on next week. I'm so excited for that. And then on Monday, the 30th of May, we'll close out May. Keeping it right back here in Bucks County. We're going to have Kirsten Zolfel back on the show, and we're going to have her help me together. We'll pull the moderate mask off Representative Ryan Fitzpatrick's record. Yep, Kirsten is the PA Indivisible Legislative Chair and editor of the PA Member of Congress Tracking Report. You've heard her before on the show. She's absolutely fantastic, and we're going to dig into, this Fitzpatrick's kind of, he gets this free pass all the time with this PR marketing machine. But meanwhile, I think he's going to have a little bit of a tough time of it this time, especially because, he's got to make a choice. Oh my God, he's got to make a choice. Yeah, that's right. You can't pretend that you're for women's rights. You can't pretend that you're kind of like, you're considerate and moderate when you've got a Supreme Court now that is just basically stripping away all the gains of Roe. And now you basically are going to side with the forced birthers. That's right. So Kirsten will be on the show on the 30th. So on today's show, there's lots to talk about, and I'm really kind of curious for those folks who are listening, who are kind of out there with us now, what you're going to be doing tomorrow, who you support, and so on. I'd like to hear more about the rally. It was a pretty awesome rally in Doylestown in support of abortion rights. I was so glad to see the turnout there. I'll tell you a little bit about my weekend. So we had there was a little scheduling snafu. You see, I've mentioned this kind of a couple times, but I'll be working at I'm working at my polling place all day tomorrow. and I had to kind of get a delivery of some supplies and things like this over the weekend, and the scheduling kind of went all awry. And so the time that the delivery was able to come, it was smack dab in the middle of the rally that took place in Doylestown. So I was really bummed, but I had to be here. So it is what it is. I'm saying, okay, I had to just get my head around the fact that, like, well, this is not going to be the last rally, right? But it was an incredible rally. From thank you to Amy Connect, who basically took some pictures and kind of shot me some videos of some of the speakers while it was happening. Thank you so much, Amy, because it was just a nice window into it. I got to say, Ashley Ahas was fantastic in kind of pulling no punches and basically saying we're going to go at Fitzpatrick, and that we're not going to let his anti-abortion record stand, and allow him to continue to take that seat and strip away women's rights. I mean, this is a little bit of a paraphrase from what she said. She's about, because she's a veteran, and she's basically, I'll be damned if I'm going to go fight for my country and put my life at risk and to come back here and be treated as a second-class citizen. I'm like, that is the message you want right there. What you want. I also know that Gwen Stoltz was there. I would love, if anybody's got video or audio of her speech out there, I'd love to hear it. I've been trying to track it down. I've heard great things about it. I heard she made made quite an impression on the crowd, was to say. And I told you before on the show that I got to meet up with her early on during her initial career launch online, all right, through this kind of local group. And she was really fantastic, and kind of very issue oriented. She's got great qualifications. She's a scientist. She's been doing the spade work, and then stepped up to run this time. And because of the way that the things have been redistricted, she's got a real shot. She's got a real shot to basically turn the 143rd district in Pennsylvania, the State House, turn that one blue. So that's going to be very, very interesting. The 145th district, which is kind of just above that, like if you look at Bucks County now, Bucks County kind of it's got stripes now. It was kind of a little bit more different. It's like the districts were a little bit kind of, all over the place. Now it's like somebody just kind of like got a knife and cut it in strips up. So the 145th is the kind of northernmost district in Bucks County, and that's where Craig Statz is. That used to be kind of where he was my representative before, but now he's in the 145th north. So it's it's just batting everything around. So we shall see. Let's see. Emily said she'll be voting at Springfield East and then working at the Springfield Middle Pole. That's fantastic. And if you're in the 145th, write in Jim Miller. Spread the word. If you're in the 145th, write in Jim Miller. What is Jim Miller? Jim Miller running against Stats? Is that what's happening there, Emily? Love to see what's going on there. Yeah, see, we'll see. Well, where are you at? Where's everybody going to be tomorrow? For legislative rep. Okay, so if you're up in the 145th, you can write in Jim Miller, right? Jim Miller for PA legislative rep up in the 145th. That is, again, that northernmost kind of piece of Bucks County after redistricting. That's good. So the other thing too, as well, I'd strongly recommend people check out the Bucks County Board of Elections. They've got some great resources there, and they have sample ballots up there if you're in Bucks County. Most other counties have some version of that. Once again, they'll have places where you can basically look at sample ballots. The reason why I say that is particularly in kind of Bucks County, but this has happened in a lot of places, is that the districts have switched quite a bit. I mean, I'm like, for example, where I'm at, both my state legislative district has changed. I'll have a different representative, as well as my state senator has now changed. So you have Mark Pinsley up in Lehigh County. He's been representing up there. Is now kind of his district is now covering where I'm at. So do check that out so you know who you're going to be voting for going in. Be patient tomorrow, because you're also going to find that because of the redistricting, there will be some questions where people will be looking for particular representatives and so on. Be helpful. Make sure that you're advocating for the candidates that we need, and we shall see. So yeah, that's what we got. I look at some of the let's go take a look at some of the races. So one of the things I was checking out before I got on tonight. Yeah, exactly, Emily. State Senate District 16. Yep, that's where I'm at now. There we go. So let's take a look at some of the primaries here and what we're looking at so far. So the Republican primary is going to be interesting, to say the least. So if let's go through the list here. If I'm looking at Real Clear Politics, right? Looking at their aggregates here, they've got the RCP Real Clear Politics average right now has Dr. Oz at 2.6, up 2.6 over Barnett. Now remember, Kathy Barnett has been on the rise, right? She's kind of coming out of nowhere, at least in terms of the polling, to basically, she's pretty much within the margin of error, right? Well, they're not giving what the, most of the polls that Real Clear Politics is aggregating here they got a 3, around, 2.9 in the low end up to 4.9 in the high end of the different margins of error. So basically, you got Oz at 2.6, right? That's within the margin of error. So Kathy Barnett, that was very close. And McCormick has just kind of slid, has basically David McCormick has slowly been kind of sliding away. I mean, it's at the one hand, McCormick is, he's a hedge fund manager and he's from Connecticut, right? And yes, and Maymon Oz is from New Jersey and he doesn't live in Pennsylvania either, but he got Trump's endorsement, so that kind of means something with the base. But Kathy Barnett, they're calling her Ultra MAGA, and for good reason, because she is certainly the Ultra MAGA candidate, and she's her rise has also been getting some national attention now, and justifiably so, because she is officially the most extreme candidate in the race. So we shall see. And I also can say, and again, not saying that yard signs are the measure of everything, but I'll tell you this, I've seen a ton of Kathy Barnett signs, right? And it is not strange that, or not odd, I should say, that those signs are also appearing alongside signs for Doug Mastriano, right? Now, Doug Mastriano, of course, he is now leading the field of Republicans in the Republican primary for Pennsylvania governor, and it's not a 2-point, whatever lead. It's a 13.5% lead right now in the polls in the Republican candidates, right? The next person in line is Lou Barletta, right? So you've got Mastriano coming in at, again, this is the average, about 32 percentage points. Barletta at 18.5, right? So not quite half that, but I mean, that's pretty significant. You got McSwain and White and all the rest. I mean, you got a whole bunch around the bottom that are kind of, are just, getting 2%, 3%, and so on. But so it looks like it's going to be Mastriano and Barletta. Maybe McSwain will pull something out. I'm not surprised, right? Now, one of the things about, Mastriano and Kathy Barnett is, like we were saying, I think I was saying on Friday, is like, this is part of this kind of Christian nationalist faction, right, in the right wing. And it is this kind of ultra-right, cozy with, kind of cozy with the fascists and the Proud Boys and all this stuff. Of course, news had just broke. NBC News broke the news, I think it was either today. But Kathy Barnett was basically saying, oh, yes, she was at the January 6th insurrection, and she was marching with the Proud Boys. Now, she, of course, has said she wasn't marching with the Proud Boys. She was just, they caught the pictures there with her, and she didn't do anything illegal, all that kind of stuff that everyone is used to hearing. But there's, multiple pictures, and that's, she's kind of there, and there's Proud Boys all around her, right? At the very least, we can say there wasn't a lot of tension between those two, right? The Proud Boys and Kathy Barnett. So you're seeing this, this more extreme right-wing movement becomes associated with these two candidates. And if you're driving through Bucks County, you can see like the Mastriano Barnett signs, right? On the same lawns, the same things there. And there's very few of other ones. The next, especially with Bucks County, the next biggest one that I see is the Fire Fitz one, right? That's Fire Fitzpatrick, but this is not Fire Fitzpatrick from the left. This is Fire Fitzpatrick from the right, for this guy Enton, who's running against him, right? He is the the favorite of the kind of the oh God, Andy Meehan's people, right? That's have had him on. You remember Amy Connect was on, went to actually one of his events, and of course this guy Enton was on the show, or I'm on the show. Was at that event giving the speech, and he is the the guy who wants to topple the Republican establishment in Bucks County and issue in a more extreme right-wing politics. Right? So there is a lot going on the Republican side of the ticket. So if we go back to the Senate race on the Democratic side, it looks like at this point we're seeing a kind of a clear not well, it's 31-point lead, right? Fetterman is at 43%. The next is Lamb, and the next is Kenyatta. The fact that Lamb even has 12% is shameful, if you ask me, because that we need to kind of dislodge Connor Lamb and the faction of the Democratic Party that has held on to power for so long. We got to dislodge him and his cronies from this. Whereas you have Malcolm Kenyatta, in my mind is, he's a movement favorite, right? He is he's been outstanding, right, at the state legislature. He has been, shows up for people, right? He's got great politics. But I'm just hoping that Malcolm Kenyatta is not going to go away anytime soon, that we're going to see him kind of come back in other races, because I have to think that part of what the issue here is for Malcolm has been simply name recognition and getting to know people around the state, whereas of course John Fetterman has been lieutenant governor, right? And look, he's running a really good campaign. I know some people will take me on that one, but I mean, he has been showing up a kind of a whole range of people, places across the state. He's got money coming out like his ears. Be real now. Just on this past Friday, he had a stroke, but he's okay. We wish him kind of all the hopes in the world that he gets better. That it's to be all the indications are that it's fine. It wasn't kind of like a tragic one. He's lost no cognitive abilities and all that kind of stuff that you worry about. And so he's going into the primaries with a 31-point lead in the terms of the polls. Now, these are polls. What do they mean? That's a great question. I think that this could give us some sense about what people are responding to and how they're responding to pollsters. But I do think that, the most important thing is going to be get out there, support the candidate you want tomorrow in the primaries, because that's going to be critical. And, I think that, showing up, even if you're looking at a race like Fetterman, where it seems like, okay, look, he's got a pretty good lead. I think it's advantageous, right? Especially if you're supporting Fetterman, it's advantageous to get out there and make sure you vote for Fetterman, right? Make that lead a big one. Like, let's see, like, yes, this is the clear choice, right? So, because it is going to be a fight, I believe, in the in the midterms, and I've seen a little bit of this kind of cockiness, though. Although I think that there's a lot in kind of even in the official Democratic Party politics, there is a little bit of caution about wanting to make the claim that Fetterman is going to trounce someone like uh, like Kathy Burnett or Dr. Oz. I mean, he's going to trounce him. Don't be so sure, right? And this is not a knock against Fetterman. This is the saying, like, look, we've got to understand that the political environment that we are in today, you can take nothing for granted. I mean, we got to get out there and we got to vote. We got to get out there and we got to organize, right? And look, for those folks who are all are really distraught and cynical about the voting, say, look, I'm not saying it's vote or organize for power. I'm not saying it's vote or kind of activism. I'm saying these things this is all at once, right? This is what like the right wing did for 40 plus years, right? They organized, they built institutions, and they voted, right? They gave, it was power and building, right? The activist base was not kind of separate from, the insider game, from the big money, from the media infrastructure, all that kind of stuff. These pieces were all working together. Yes, there was tremendous tension at times through these different factions on the right, but they walked and chewed gum, and we can do the same thing, right? So we shall see. We shall see. I am looking forward to being at the polls all day tomorrow, though. I'm really curious to kind of just get a sense of, just kind of discussions I have with people throughout the day. Excuse me. The other thing, of course, that if the leaked Supreme Court document coming out wasn't enough, right? The fact that we saw what happened in Buffalo this past weekend is just yet another reminder of where we are as a country, right? And, with Raging Chicken, we have, when Sean Kitchen, for example, when Sean was, Sean and I were doing a lot of work together with Raging Chicken. I mean, he and I were basically the team that built Raging Chicken, especially the writing kind of part of before we started doing the podcast and stuff. Before he moved on to greener pastures, emphasis on the greener, but no, awesome pastures too. We had been trying to shine a light on these kind of extremist white supremacist groups for years. Jordan Hopkins, for example, he's the independent investigative journalist out of Philly. We've had him on the show a couple times. He's another one who's just been doing just bang up work on kind of tracking what's happening on the right and trying to raise these alarm bells. And finally, again, this is like what, 4, 5, 6 years easy of trying to dig out some of this stuff. Finally, people are starting to pay attention to it. And, the problem is, of course, is that it's pretty late. And, and even now, there's still people that are saying, don't give them a platform. Just ignore them. They'll go away. That has not worked, right? And this is something that Sean and I had said for years would not work, right? You don't beat fascism by pretending it's not there. That's just like saying, okay, I see you're building a compound. You go ahead. Need some wood? No, we're not going to provide any counter message to this. We're not going to build an all kind of alternative ideology. No, we're just going to keep on going and get back to work and do good, be professional. Right? I mean, that's what we did. I mean, well, I should say we. I mean, I was, practically tearing my hair out with this stuff. And, but it's hard. I mean, one thing that I've, as I've been getting older, I was realizing it is hard work to get through to people, right? To get them to see structure and systems, right? Especially when there's an absence of kind of a leadership body, right? Like say just a political party. I don't mean just an individual leader. I mean like a leadership, like a political party, right? That is helping coordinate, right? And reinforcing these messages, right? Instead we get like, Democratic Party leadership at the national level, basically spending more time talking about encouraging Republicans to get a stronger party, spending more time kind of talking about how we need kind of Republicans, more time doing that than actually kind of putting forward an agenda. The other thing they spend a lot of time is punching left. Instead of seeing progressives and activists as a source of energy and power and creativity and possibility, right? Those in power, those in in the Democratic Party leadership have just like, they have more zeal for coming after the left than they do going after the right. It's astonishing. It really is. And when they do go after the right, it is purely kind of rhetorical flourishes. And what do I mean by that? Well, if you were to say that what happened on January 6th is an existential threat to democracy, as they did, as like Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, and they also said that Donald Trump has been an existential threat to American democracy, for example. If you say something is an existential threat, that means its continued existence threatens to obliterate you, to take you out of being, right? And so if that is true and you believe that, you would assume you would act accordingly. If your life is being threatened, you do more than point out hypocrisy. You build an aggressive movement, you build an aggressive offense, and you snuff out the problem. Fascism didn't go away because brunch was more appealing. Fascism went away for a while because it was stopped. People drew lines in the sand and they said, not that, this, and they could say something in the affirmative. And that's kind of where we're at. So we've been doing that for years. And so you can see this. I remember when there was these, one of the things we did with Raging Chicken in the earlier days, right? When we were doing a lot of writing, and I really hope to get back to some of this stuff too as well. Was, we built these relationships with different journalists, both, at the national level, the kind of state level, and so on. Like Sean was extraordinarily good at doing this. And then, we did this thing that I would call, say, break and push, right? Because we're focused on really specific kind of in the weeds things, sometimes what was happening in politics and in kind of movements and behind the scenes, and looking at kind of what was happening really specifically in Pennsylvania. So that was where our attention was. If you're in the national media, or even if you're in like, covering, Pennsylvania politics or Philadelphia politics, whatever like this, or, a major reporter, you're not necessarily paying attention to these quote unquote smaller things that we're paying attention to. And on the flip side, we were kind of a pretty kind of nimble, small outfit, right? We had a lot of energy, let's say. And so we would dig into stuff. And then with these relationships, you'd break it, you'd break the news, and then you'd push it to those people who had larger audiences, right? That's, in my view, that is the relationship, what I hope we're going to be able to start building here in Bucks County. right? Now that we actually have kind of a few progressive media outlets, right? If we're smart about this, what we do is we don't go into competition with each other, right? We basically talk, we work together, right? And that doesn't mean we work together and decide like all together what to do, but we think about ways that we can mutually reinforce what we do, right? There's always going to be, say, competition between, say, for example, journalists who are really kind of digging into story. When you get a story first, that's awesome, right? And so that's going to happen regardless, right? But instead of seeing that competition as these folks are kind of our rivals, our enemies, right? You can, at the end of this, man, you got that story that was so awesome, right? How can we help get it out now, right? Or maybe somebody, like, you know, you already see some of this happening, what we're doing with the Bucks County Beacon and Cyril, right? You know, Cyril and I started kind of doing this Wednesday show, right? And now he's got, you know, he's the editor-in-chief at the Beacon. He's not just a columnist, and he's making some decisions. He's bringing on more writers. So now I'm paying attention to what's happening at the Beacon. And when I see somebody breaking a story over there, I see somebody doing a kind of cool piece, I'm always looking at that. And then I'm reaching out to those folks individual to have them on the show, right? So that's not a competition, right? That right there is kind of like how this stuff should work, right? And the right wing understood this for kind of, you know, for decades, right? And so this is the kind of thing that we can do if we're smart about it, right? If we find ways of kind of like directing our resources in ways that are going to be, you know, about building sustainable, vigorous, progressive media, right? And this is also true when we were talking about kind of on the ground grassroots organizations, right? I mean, you know, I give Ashley Ahas's campaign a heck of a lot of credit, right? They've been doing some really good work. You know, she's a worker that's absolutely clear. She's out there knocking on doors. She's out there doing the hard work of kind of running the campaign, you know, but look, she shouldn't have to start from ground zero. No progressive candidate should, right? And, you know, and frankly, it's been a lot of the activists who have been around, right, and who have been eventually, you know, continually kind of brushed aside by the consultant class in the Democratic Party, right? Because they're after their jobs, right? And so they want to come and tell us what to do, what we should do, the correct messaging, the correct communication. When these activists on the ground, or these kind of, you know, candidates who are organizing on school boards, right, know their communities better than these outside consultants. That does not mean that they're worthless, right? But can you just imagine, anybody who's out there who's run for school board, who has helped organize some of the campaigns and worked on the campaigns of some of the school board candidates in Bucks County, right? Or any county across the you know, the Commonwealth, right? Or the country for that matter. That's where the work goes. That's where the work happens. The work happens on the ground with those folks. Now imagine if half the budget of those consultants, I know I'm asking for big, half that budget didn't go to the consultants so that they can tell you what to say, but the money went to you so you could develop what you already know to be the messaging that's going to work in the community. And if some of that money, instead of getting paid just on kind of like glitzy PR campaigns, say, okay, we're going to bring in some organizers to help train us in how to do this better. Not to tell us what to say, but what are some of the tactics that have worked in kind of organizing to help mediate some of our own organizing, right? Where somebody's coming in to help build from the ground up, not tell the ground what to say, right? So that can happen there too as well. If you look at the, you know, I mean, this is what I've said on the show multiple times, is that you look at the organizing that took place in Penridge, in Central Bucks, in North Penn, in Palisades, right? In Berks County, right? In Berks County, the Kutztown School District, right? They started getting kind of, you know, the $10,000 plopped in their bank accounts out there too as well, to kind of run right-wing candidates, right? To ignore science and kind of force kids into a COVID catastrophe, right? So they got it too. So what did they do? They stopped up and started doing it. And A lot of them were brand new to politics, never thought they would run, right? Never thought they would run for school board, right? I had to learn along the way. But in that process of learning, they may have lost that election, but in that process, and you know what I'm going to say, everybody, you know what I'm going to say. In that process, they learn things. They develop skill. They exercise their democratic muscles, the muscles of democracy, right? Those muscles that we've let atrophy for too long. And to take that, the energy, right, the kind of the you know, the skills and the thought and the kind of strategy and tactics that was learned in those moments, and if we had the resources at those moments that can help build that out, so we're planning for the next one, the next one, and the next one, that's what we could do. And I think, like in Bucks County, we're one of those places that can do this, right? You know, I'm thinking, obviously, it's because part of where I live. I'm thinking Upper Bucks, right? I'm thinking Quakertown. I'm thinking Quakertown, Penridge, Central Bucks, Palisades, like I'm missing one over here, North Penn, right? North Penn's down a little bit, it's Montgomery County, but we've got these, you know, these campaigns that are going on and looking for ways that we could say share information, right? But I mean, look, and I've watched. And that's already happening, of course, like in Facebook groups and kind of different chats and Zoom calls and things like this. I mean, people are already doing that. But imagine if we actually had resources behind us to do that. Right? That's kind of the idea. So, I mean, I don't know. So there's a lot going on. That's one of the reasons I'm really looking forward to tomorrow and so on. But we, you know, to go way back to where I started this point, when you look at what happened in Buffalo, right? You look at what happened with the, you know, the league Supreme Court draft. What's going to happen when that decision comes down, with the elimination of women's rights, abortion rights, overturning Roe v. Wade. Those should be at the forefront of what we're campaigning on. And we should be able to argue for the affirmative for those things, for abortion rights, for women's rights, and developing our language. So when somebody asks it, you know, because like, look, you know, what happened, I think, like, I don't, you know, look, we could share blame in so many different ways, you know, I mean, everybody, I get it. But the logic that's been kind of, that's been wrapped in, or that's been kind of driving the Democratic Party for too long now, has been this logic. Well, we can't really say what we're for. We have to try to couch it in this, you know, this conservative sounding language, or this freedom language, right? We need to sound like Republicans so that we can squeeze in our point. We got to put that away. You know, it's in happening. You know, what do you think is, one thing you start, you know, this is what, you know, some of the joy that, you know, got watching some of the you know, the pushback that was happening around the the past several years from, like, for Gen Z stuff. It's like, you know, there's like right in your face about stuff, and like that's the way it should be. If you look at some of the you know, the ways that people, primarily women, were speaking at these rallies over this past weekend, right? The Bans Off Our Bodies rallies, right? The pro-abortion rights rallies. They're like, you know, we're going after this, right? I gotta say, it's like, you know, I'm like Josh Shapiro, man, what are you doing? Right? I heard his speech at you know, in the Doylestown rally, and I'm still, it's like, it's all this kind of soft language, right? And it's like, man, you gotta, if Democrats cannot do the authenticity thing, right? If they don't sound like they actually believe what they're saying, or if they sound like they're going to cave on it the minute that they, you know, the minute they can, that is going to, people get that. People understand that. People feel that. This is the problem with the consultant tested language, right? Using all these talking points all the time. I pull my hair out all the time listening to the news, right? When I hear these, you know, these not just Democratic politicians, right? But these people that are supposedly in that kind of like democratic infrastructure, like the kind of civil society people and all this, and they come on, they're asked a question, and they don't respond like a living, breathing human being. They don't respond like that. No, they respond with their talking points. Just listen to Eric Swalwell talk. It's a perfect example of that. He's like a flesh robot. Right? And I have no idea what he's like as a person, but it's the mentality that I'm talking about. And look, Pennsylvania, like I hate to break it to you, Josh Shapiro, but in Pennsylvania, right? Pennsylvania, is not like Mainline or Montgomery County, right? The ones that people that are always looking towards Philly, that are always looking for like the Arts District in Philly, right? Again, I'm the last person that's going to knock that, right? But people's lives across the Commonwealth are much more complex and different than that. And they're not, I believe at least, that people are not necessarily looking for the guy in the nicest suit. They're looking for the person who's going to be like them, talk like them, register with them. So I don't know. So how do we build that capacity is a big question. I don't know. Anyways, that's what I got tonight. That's really it. That's my thoughts. I have to admit I'm tired. I got to get up super early in the morning. I'm really looking forward to it, though. I'm really looking forward to spending the day kind of just like helping the wheels of democracy turn. It's been I've done the other stuff. We were kind of campaigning on the outside of the polls, right? Outside the polls, and for particular candidates and things like this. And of course, that time's never going to go away. But it's kind of, it seems to me, at least for me personally, to doing some stuff on the inside of the polls, right? Just kind of like, just doing that work, doing the work of signing people in, making sure that they get to vote. That kind of thing. That seems like a worthy practice to be helping out with, So I'm excited. So anyways, wherever you're going to do, if you're going to be out there campaigning for folks tomorrow, if you're actually going to be handing out literature tomorrow, if you're helping taking people to the polls tomorrow, thank you for the work that you're doing. Thank you for the work that for all those people have been doing, who've been knocking on doors, leading up, as part of the primary process, who have been helping get the word out, because, none of those candidates would be doing anything had it not been for all of you who've been putting in the work on the ground to help them out. Right. So here we go. So this is that next step, right? This is that kind of one step forward in the calendar year to toward that midterm. And I'm not going to pretend. I'm not going to pretend that I feel good about it. I don't. But this is it. This is the work, right? This is the work. So anyways, I wish all of you a good day tomorrow for Election Day. Get some good sleep, get some good rest, work hard, I guess. As you can tell, I'm kind of fading right now. It's been quite a week. This has also been my, my grades are due tomorrow too as well. I'm all done with my grading, but of course I had a couple little stragglers that, so I couldn't submit them. Not very nice. So, so anyway, so I have to do that kind of yet tonight to kind of finish off the last button push, so to speak. But it's been last week and a half has been kind of overwhelming when it comes to what's happening in the news, and then plus in just in my kind of everyday life has been packed with stuff. So the primary kind of feels like this coming to fruition before the kind of can take a pause, take a deep breath, and get ready to roll once again. So thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for kind of all your support. Remember, you can help support this show by heading on over to patreon.com/rcpress today. And if you want to kind of put some money into helping elect progressive politicians in our state legislature and on our school boards, want to help invest in the organizing that's going on here, well, we've partnered up with Level Field, and we've got our own little pack going. And we're going to have more information after the primaries about who we want to kind of bring on board. We want to bring on like an advisory board that will be part of this. It would be fantastic. And thank you all who have already contributed to kind of get us over that first $1,000 mark. That is really, really amazing. I frankly did not know what to expect. I've been hearing, listen, we could do this, and I'm like, okay, let's just see if we can do it. And I've been amazed, and got to say it's a lot of people kind of, chipping in a few bucks. We've had a couple people that are, been chipping in higher amounts, which has been fantastic too as well. Like the more that we can direct it towards electing progressive folks and exposing the nonsense on the right, the more we can do. So anyways, ragingchicken.levelfield.net to help us out there. But the best way that you can help us out personally, we help keep this show going, is going to patreon.com/rcpress today. Choose your membership level, choose your membership level and help support the show. Hey everybody, happy Election Day Eve, primary Election Day Eve. We'll see you on the flip side Wednesday with Cyril, Friday with Amy Connect.
Let me try my people
See ya!